Welcome to Season 2 of Digging Deeper Ag Chats with Al, the podcast that brings you timely and practical stories straight from the paddock. From sowing to shearing, fire to flood, and everything in between. We're here when it matters most. Each episode taps into real experiences, expert voices, and grounded advice that helps you stay ahead on farm. I'm Alistair from the Gippsland Ag Group, a grassroots, farmer-led network in Gippsland, focusing on soil, grain and fodder, pasture and livestock. We're here to support producers in building resilient and profitable enterprises across our region. So let's dig in. Welcome everyone to Digging Deeper. We've got a couple of guests today. We actually just finished the Springfield day for Gippsland Ag, and so these guys have had a long day, so I appreciate you coming in. So hi to Trevor and hi to Trent.
G'day, Al.
Hey, Al.
Now we're going to start with you, Trent, because you've been a long time member, a big part of the Gippsland Ag journey. You were part of the very formation, weren't you?
Yeah, we were, yep, and SFS before that.
Yeah, so you've been around for a very long time. So we'll actually just start with getting to know you a little bit. Who are you and where are you farming? What's your journey been like so far?
Yeah, Trent Anderson, farm down in the Gifford-Darriman area with parents initially. Came back after I went to Ag College after year 10 to a place called Murrumbidgee College of Ag. Did that for 2 years and then went north for 12 months. Came back, didn't think Jackarooing was for me. When I had my own farm, I thought that was a better spot. Came back, tried the stock and station agent game. I was working in the office for 12 months. Went north to Bort, spent 2.5 years up there, learned how to drink a lot of alcohol and have a very good time playing football.
Yeah, well, I must say there's actually a beer sitting on the desk right in front of you now, so you've learnt well, Trent.
But, yeah, them days are long gone. And there is where I sort of developed a passion for the agronomy side of agriculture. So I hadn't had anything much to do with cropping until that point, but it was very much an agronomy-focused office up there and got a real toe in the water with agronomy, returned back to the farm and, yeah, been going since then. That was about 2002, I think.
All right, we'll get on to the farm in a minute, but I just want to wind back a little bit to the Jackarooing. It's actually something I've always wanted to do, but never had the guts to go up there and do it, and I think I'm past my use by date. Talk about your time up there.
A lot of hard work for very little pay. So you go up there for a good time.
To cattle station, I'm assuming?
It was mostly sheep. We had cattle. It was Wingate East Station. We were part of the Clyde Ag Group back then. I think we had 10,000 ewes and I think it was a couple of thousand breeders cows back then, across 70,000 acres out of Canamble. It was... it was just an experience, really. Like, you did work very hard. I think we worked out at one stage, we were doing 12-hour shifts on tractors putting crops in as well, and it worked out we were on $2 an hour. So there was no talk about minimum wage or anything back then.
Yeah, and so what was a typical day? You said tractor work up there. It wasn't just fixing fences for 9 months of the year?
No, we did everything. It was a really good experience. We had the sheep, did all the movement of sheep, really transformed after coming out of Gippsland, where we had mobs of 300 on our farm and that sort of thing. Yeah, we were moving mobs of 2,000 and 3,000 and big mobs in big paddocks and actually rotating in these big paddocks.
All motorbikes or any horseback?
No, it was all motorbikes then.
Yeah.
And the cattle, yeah, same sort of thing, just big mobs of cattle. So a lot of, I remember when you first go on 70,000 acres, it sounded, for people who'll be on big acreage and laugh, but I'd come from 2,000 acres and I spent about 3 hours in this paddock and ended up where I started and it wasn't where I was meant to be. So, yeah, it did get pretty confusing. But, it's just a real growth and you're really encouraged. I went and played rugby in town, got to know people through that. It was a good experience.
How long were you up there for, Trent?
I did it for 12 months. Enjoyed it, but I probably just thought having farmland back home, I'd get back and so I was really keen to get back and get on with my own farming career.
Yeah, so you obviously had a passion for farming growing up.
Yeah, I was one of them ones that knew from day one. Yeah, well, I used to sleep in the back of the tractor and ride on all the gear and just lived and breathed it from day one.
Yeah, and when you first came back, you didn't obviously go back on the family farm straight away, is that correct?
No, it was the intention, but a job came up with what was Rodwell's in town and just thought it was probably a good idea to keep broadening, I could work the farm on the weekends and broaden the horizon. So I went in and worked. It was part-time stock and in the office with selling merchandise in sale.
Yep. So how did you get to the agronomy side? I missed that step.
So that, after being in sale for 12 months, within the company, they suggested I went up to Boort and have a crack up there, which I did, and spent 3 years up there, and that's where the agronomy side came in.
All right. So then it was time to come back on the family farm?
After a little stint overseas. So
right.
I wanted to go and have a look over at, see what it was like over in England, and we had friends in Norway, and that's so I headed over there and did a harvest.
In Norway?
In England,
right,
and then went to Norway and did a bit of hitchhiking up to the Nordkap and around up there, and then come home and then decided it was time to go farming.
Yeah. So just quickly, what did you learn over in England that you've brought back to Australia?
I learnt that you could crop in wet, cooler, wetter environments, because everything we'd seen in Australia was the cropping was all done out where it was hot and dry and sort of big acreages and completely like our area was just not known for cropping, was one. And two, I was actually really disappointed. I thought they were a long way behind with technology. So we'd been using auto steer and things here in Australia, and there was just no thought of it over there when I was there. So.
What's that? Their soil, as a general rule, is quite different to ours too, isn't it?
Where I was actually some rubbish dirt.
Really?
It ranged from some reasonable dirt up to some sort of sloping country that, they called it chalky sort of dirt. So, not all good over there.
Right. No, the TV show's been leading me astray. I thought it was all South Gippsland style of dirt over there. So back to the family farm after your junket overseas. How was that transition coming back on the farm? Are you the only sibling in the family, or? No,
there's 4 of us. I had an older brother. He was killed in a trucking accident. A sister and 2 sisters. So.
Yeah, and none of them are interested on the farm, were they? Or how did that whole transition side can sometimes be tricky? But
yeah, my brother had been on the farm, and when I came back, he was looking to get away, he'd sort of come back from school and needed a rest from farming, and so he went when I came back.
So you're on the farm. What was the farm like when you took over? Talk about what it looked like and where it is today.
Yeah, so I came back. We'd been through the bad wool years after the boom years of the 80s. I think we'd sort of reached a point, and I think it happens. Dad had lost interest a bit because he'd been doing it for a lot of years. So things like pastures had got run down. A lot of the infrastructure was okay, but it was time. It really needed a renovation from top to bottom. So we were all really keen on it. Like when we sat down and talked about it, and everyone was super keen to get on with it. So with that in mind, we thought we'd start off a cropping program would be the best way to start a pasture renovation and fertility build program through the farm.
So I hadn't traditionally cropped on the place?
Just a small amount for a bit of, might have been 50 to 100 acres a year for a bit of stock feed.
Yeah. So the first couple of years that you took over, what was that like, starting to run your own place, I guess, rather than just working on properties?
Are you allowed to say the truth, or is that too X-rated?
No, I can tick a box to say vulgar language or something, or Sarah will, so let loose.
I think everyone that's been involved in ag and family businesses know the transition to a next generation. There's always some bumps along the way. I thought I knew everything, and now I'm a bit older, I realised I didn't know very much at all.
Now, you've got a son that's up and coming on the farm too, so just remember those words.
He thinks he knows everything. But once we all got to a point where we were heading in the same direction, everyone gave buy-in, and to this day we'll talk about it, and it actually become Dad's most enjoyable times farming in his career, because all the stressful decisions, all that disappeared, and he could just turn up to work and farm. So at that point, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I was probably the brains and Dad was the worker. But to this day, he's put more hours on machinery than I have. But the two of us together really knuckled down and got stuck right into it.
Yeah. So what do you actually run down there, Trent?
Merino sheep and Hereford cattle and cropping.
Yeah.
So normal cropping, canola, wheat, barley type rotation.
Right. So you haven't followed the crowd and gone black and composites?
No, I have not.
No. Well,
I won't say why.
More power to you.
Yeah.
Well done. And we'll also say good day to Trevor. So how are you going, Trevor?
Good, Al. Good, Al. Had a pretty big day here with our Springfield Day, so lots of people around, so it's been a great day.
And what was the general themes for today? Can you tell us a little bit about what actually happened here today?
So we've had everything from discussions as we've been walking through, looking at some of the pasture plots, some of the different fodder crops. There's an amazing, I think 24 plots of lucerne out there this year. Really well established, the cereals and then some livestock work as well. So huge crowd today.
Do you know numbers? Do you have a rough count on numbers?
Well, we must have been somewhere in excess of 150, I'd say.
Yeah, and people from quite far afield this year too. I was talking to some that come from quite a ways away.
Yeah, we just seem to be drawing more and more of a crowd from down through that South and West Gippsland. And then we still had our sort of people from further east and those up in the mountains as well. So, some really dynamic conversations.
All right, well, let's move on to one of the main reasons why I got both of you guys in is that our season here in East Gippsland itself has been tough for the last 2 months, and I can't even look Trent in the eye at the minute because I think, what is it, coming up to 2 years maybe, Trent, for you?
Yeah, we've had bits and pieces where it's been okay, but this year, the last 6 months has been exceptionally tough.
Yeah. And so you said you're at Gifford. How far away do we have to go before the season hasn't been too bad?
Not far in every... Oh, no, I won't say too bad, but it's varied a lot, Al. Like if you talked about early in the season, your Woodside district was probably the worst in Gippsland. They were really, really bad. We'd actually had a bit of summer rain and had... The best we looked was mid-March. We had green grass and everything looked good. It just stopped raining from that point onward, whereas down your Woodside way, they've had a better winter and into spring. So sort of hard to say which direction you go. They've all sort of had a turn.
Yeah. Now, you're in Wellington Shire, aren't you? What's one of the frustrations about being in such a big shire with climates and things like that?
Yeah, look, from the ag side, we probably feel, because we're off, not on the main road, not a lot of people drive through where we are. The irrigation area gets a lot of media and that sort of thing, and we probably just feel like we're a little bit forgotten down there in the pocket down there in the coast. I
know you did a story recently for Stock and Land. Have you got some rainfall data off the top of your head that you can start sharing some numbers with people?
Yeah, so 23 and 25, April to 30th September rainfall, 154 mil in both those years. And this year I went a bit deeper because we knew we'd had plenty of rain days. About 80 mil of that rainfall fell at an average of 2.2 mil.
So it's going to burn off the next morning.
Yeah, she was just howling gale. You get a mil or two and just get a howling gale, and it was just pointless.
Yep. And how have we looked up here, Trevor? Have you sat down and looked at rainfall data?
Yeah, so we're just a little bit behind average calendar to date at the moment. I reckon we've probably had a fantastic autumn and winter, and all of our problems have started in the last 8 weeks. When you consider, I think we had 8 or 9 mil for September, and October's not looking a lot better. And really just, it'd be interesting to really be able to put a figure on how much damage the wind's done. But considering it's probably blown just about non-stop for 8 weeks, that's just totally wrecked the country.
So we can talk from 2 different sort of vantage points here. One, Trevor, we're setting up from a good autumn, a very kind winter, and then the season's cut out. And Trent, yourself, where you said you had a bit of summer rain, but then it's just been really struggling. What decisions do we start making and when? And what are you guys thinking? We'll start with you, Trevor. What are you thinking as far as decision making going into a summer where we're sort of uncertain now what we're looking like?
Yeah, look, I think, depending on what sort of business you are and what time of year you've got calving or lambing, like we're an early spring type calving, so we've now got calves on the ground that are three months old. So all of the importance to us is getting that cow cycling well, getting that cow back in calf. And if that means that some of our follower cattle, so our yearling type cattle, which we'd normally be fattening in-house, if they actually have to come off pastures or go into stock containments or be sold, they're all options that we have to have on the table. And our business has already sort of been fairly proactive. We've reduced our stock numbers substantially, sold steers out to feedlots and sold steers out to fatteners, and turned on, a grain feeding system as well.
Yeah, so you got sort of 9 months in advance in the front of your mind right now, with making sure those cattle provide calves in 9 months' time.
I really, we very much like to keep our business structure just flowing on, and I struggle immensely with the concept of selling breeding cows that have got calves on them at the moment, because I just know the effects on our cash flow for the coming couple of years is going to be enormous. So we'll really do everything we can to keep that breeding herd together. It's just a little calf factory is what it is. And if you can keep that factory operational day in, day out, at least you know that you're going to be in a good position when the season does come good at some stage.
Yeah, you mentioned about moving yearling cattle off pastures for your cows. What are you starting to do to conserve fodder apart from that? Are you starting to try and bunker some or buy some?
Yeah, so we've actually just opened up our major drought reserve bunker, which is silage that's in the bunker. So that will buy us enough dry matter along with some pellets and some grain to actually finish stock. So I think we haven't got a lot of opportunity to grow anything at the moment. If we were to crack some summer storms, the first thing we'd be doing is probably putting some forage sorghum in and some forage millets. And if the season went with us, perhaps we might be able to get a cut of silage off them in February, March.
Yeah. What about yourself, Trent? What decisions are you starting to make right now?
Yeah, we actually started making them a while ago because we could see it coming. I'm very much like Trevor, and we'd run out of, because we've had the 2 years not being able to conserve fodder. We knew we were out, so we knew we had to make big decisions early. And all this was based off the previous drought, knowing what I did wrong then, and knowing what's done us really well up until this point during this dry period, and that was keep the animals in really good nick, because animals in really good nick don't need a lot of quality tucker to keep them going when they're not lactating and that sort of thing. So we had got to the point where the cows had calved and we just didn't have any feed whatsoever. I have got one bunker of silage. It's buried big squares, but I've been sort of sitting on that for a dry autumn. So we sort of had two options, and we could have pulled that and fed the cows, but we'd still be out of feed by Christmas. So we've jumped in and bought 250 acres of grass. By that I actually meant a property. It had been locked up for silage. It was fairly local, and it's ex-dairy country. So, yeah, it's sort of really good quality country. And we just knew we had to get the cattle off the farm. We just had to get mouths and feet off the farm to destock it. And the sheep side, we're just continuing to feed them. Some are in containment, stock that need to leave, cull stock there in feedlots to get them finished and sold that way.
Yeah, now both of you have talked about the ability to make some of these decisions, and I'm guessing a lot of it's because you've set up the infrastructure and processes beforehand. Someone that hasn't set this up, what's the first couple of steps you'll be advising someone to actually start setting up some infrastructure, whether worst time is in the middle of a drought, but what should we be looking at when we do have a bit of cash and time on our hands?
Look, Al, I reckon it's just so important to actually be preparing for these times. Earlier today, we were over there at the stock containment feeding site where you've had lambs in there, and you just sort of start to think, well, if people made some small investments through those times that have been quite prosperous, and actually start to get some of that infrastructure in place, it sort of becomes a turnkey process then. You don't have to psychologically process, yes, I'm going to start feeding stock and now how the hell am I going to do it? It's actually just about, well, I've already got the infrastructure, I've already got the setup, I walk them in, I order a load of grain or pellets or whatever, and flick the switch on the auger. And I think it's a mindset shift we actually have to have in this country, where we actually prepare ourselves for these times so that we're actually well equipped to be able to just deal with a very variable climate that we live with.
What about you, Trent? What do you got to add to that?
Yeah, everything Trevor said. Look, the big one I would say is I've had a cracking mentor, and he's actually sitting beside us right now. So make sure you've got someone you can bounce ideas off about what you're going to do. Don't go in doing it without asking questions of people that have been there and done it. There's lots of people out there, and generally they love sharing their information. I really think farmers love helping get farmers through. So, yeah, if you're looking to ask people some questions, I think there's plenty of information out there, and people are really happy to share. And at times it's even share a bit of gear to, if people aren't using it. So be prepared, have a plan. They're probably the most important things. Yeah,
we did have one of the sessions at stock containment area for the sheep feedlot, and Alfred Hackett, who's recently put in some, he actually mentioned how much stress it took off having that system there. And then all of a sudden when that stress is taken off, decision-making process becomes a lot clearer. And so I hear what you're saying, and it's been replicated up in the high country as well. And it's opened up options for him to, even in good times, to use that system to help his bottom line as well with different opportunities. So as we move forward, we've got an opportunity here, Trent. I know you've got plenty of ideas about what's going to help producers in the long run. What's on the front of your mind at the minute? What can you share with us? How can we help you guys more in each area, but specifically somewhere like yourself down in that little pocket of Victoria?
Look, in general, don't want too much interference. I think we're pretty well prepared to do what it is we do. I'm going to be very controversial here. Competing for hay supplies with charities is becoming a bit of an issue. When areas have sort of been picked out as being the dry area, and that's where charities are sending hay. And when it sort of got a bit silly this year and hit $600-700 a tonne, charities had pretty deep pockets to go and buy that hay, and it put a bit of pressure on other people that weren't in that position where they could be getting that charity sort of hay. So I probably think ag's just better doing, keep it very, very simple. If there's drought relief out there, make it rate reduction, something like that, just to help people. And then they can use that money to go and buy hay or do whichever way they want to go about their operation. That's probably on the heavy side of it. The rest of it, I think just make sure you still, I'm lucky I've got 5 kids. We've spent all winter chasing football Saturdays and Sundays, and we're now chasing cricket. So make sure you're getting out, get the stress away, have good mentors around you, have good friends that will let you unload from time to time, and occasionally they give you a kick up the arse and you just got to harden up and get on with it, because sometimes you need it. Probably not a lot more to add.
Yeah. What about you, Trevor?
Yeah, look, I think there's a few things we can do as an industry and as a community. Some of the things I often think is, just take Trent's Shire down there, Wellington Shire. It's a large shire. Now we don't have drought declarations now, but we certainly have acknowledgement of certain areas are doing it, certain shires are doing it tough. Well, perhaps we should actually start looking at them by a postcode rather than a shire basis, because there's some fairly large shires in Australia, and whenever I've challenged some of the authorities on this situation, they say, well, it'd be far too hard to administer. But actually, I really think it's only a matter of a few people in a couple of cars travelling around when they're actually got an area that's in trouble, and say, well, yes, look, actually that postcode down there where Trent is and a couple others around, they really are the epicentre of it. Now, when we get away from there, it's not so bad. I think if we took an approach where we actually do then acknowledge those families, those areas where they are doing it hard, even though there may not be a lot of support there, it would actually give them psychologically quite a boost because they've been acknowledged. Whereas sometimes I don't think we do a very good job at acknowledging these matters.
I was only going to throw in Trev's postcode idea is a ripper, except in our area, 3851's a ring around sale, so it still doesn't work.
We need a 3851 and A and B maybe.
Yeah, that's right.
What else could help you guys, or anyone that's going through these times? Both you sort of tiptoed around the edge of mental health, I guess. Trent, you gave some ideas about making sure you're spending time with family and friends away from farm. What happens when we don't? You've obviously got good mentors in your business. What's the way out when we're stuck in that cycle, and as soon as we start dwelling on that side of things, it just actually gets harder to break that cycle?
Yeah, it really does, and I've been there. I certainly think I've handled this dry period far, far better than I did the last one, and that's just through learning through it, better mentors. What do you do? Look, using mental health as the word is the issue for me, I think. People I think that some people, I'm not out there wanting to commit suicide, so I don't have mental health. Now, I certainly think I struggle with it from time, and I just consider it being when you feel like, and Trev actually touched on it when he said some areas you just want recognition that it's been tough, and that can really, and you can get very, very down. You can feel like it's your area is the only area missing out, and it is that to me it is a form of it. And I just don't think people like to accept that. They just being really flat and depressed and down and not wanting to talk, that is there. So I think just acknowledgement that it's there and you know it, and you got to work your way through it, and there's no easy answers, but it is having really good support around you. And don't be frightened to talk to the services that are out there, because I had a really good chat with a friend over this, but I sort of feel now like it's where someone might have gone and seen their priest. Now you go and see a counsellor, and it's just a chance just to get off your chest what you don't want to burden. It might be your wife or somebody else. You just don't want to burden them with what you're feeling, but these people are there for you to unload, and that way you get it off your chest and you just feel better through talking. So I think just that stigma, we have to get rid of that stigma around it. And if you're feeling a bit flat, get out there and talk to someone.
Yeah, I was just thinking when you're talking, Trent, a lot of time we put that side of it on ourselves, that we have to get out and talk. But I think we can do a better job at being a neighbour or a friend to actually pick up the call when someone isn't at the cricket practice or the cricket game for the second week. Call them up and say, how you going? And just like we heard Nicole speak today, she said, ask them once, but then straight away ask them again, how you really going? Because the first response is always, yeah, not bad. But the second response, if you ask them again. And so I think that we as a community can do better by asking those questions, not expecting people to ask for help all the time, because we know producers and farmers are often pretty ordinary at asking for help. First one to put up their hand to give help, but not always the first one to ask for help. So,
Yeah, I reckon, Al, you've touched on a few things there, and it is all about communicating, because quite often when we're in these tight seasonal conditions, what comes with that is actually a tight financial season. And so we'll find ourselves where the finances become really tight. And it's just so important to get that relationship with your bank manager, your accountant, those key people around you, probably your livestock agent, and actually just talk it through sometimes and say, look, I think we're going to have a real cash flow, problem in another 60 days. And it's amazing when you get some of those good people around you just feeding little snippets of information into you, you can actually start to make some quite good decisions. And it really, that old saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. Well, I'm not saying load all them up with your problems, but they actually can give you some really good advice. And I think we need to really make the most of that.
No, that's good, Trevor. Anything before we sign off, Trent?
I think you covered a fair bit off, certainly. Yeah. Let's just hope, yeah.
No, it's been a long day, but I actually always ask my guests this. Now, you've come in cold, Trent, so I apologise for this, but Trevor, you should be expecting this one. What's something you've learnt recently that's actually surprised you?
I've actually listened to a lot of your podcasts, so I've thought about this. And
I'm honoured, Trent.
I was talking to a bloke the other day, and I'm not sure how we got onto it, but we were talking about cattle and prolapse. And he taught me a technique to pick the cow up by her back legs with the front end loader to get her hanging so everything's working with gravity for you. And he said the prolapse will just fall straight back in. Now, I would have called a vet every time. Now I'm pretty keen to give that a crack and see.
You haven't tried it yet?
I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but that was something I learnt and surprised how easy it was. And just one about farmers communicating with each other. That was just over a beer somewhere, and it came up. And yeah.
Maybe don't do that by the roadside though, Trent. All right. What about you, Trevor? Same question for you.
I reckon the thing that I've learnt, and I've learnt it today, is just probably how poorly suited some of these ryegrasses are to our seasonal conditions when we get a tough spring. Up there through those plots today, and you look at the Coxfords, and the Coxfords are all 4-6 inches high, green, and just full of lushness. And you get to the ryegrass plants, and they're struggling. And as we sort of talked it through, it was just all purely rooting depth. Now we've all known that, but when you see it in a tough year like this, it just really shines home.
Just too shallow, the ryegrass.
Just too shallow rooted, we believe. Yes, for this environment.
Well, two very different but very interesting points, and a nice way to finish. So thank you both for coming in. Really appreciate your time and appreciate you guys.
Good on you. Thank you, mate.
A big thank you for tuning in today. And remember, if you have a question about today's episode or a topic you'd like us to cover, reach out to one of our many platforms and join the conversation. We're here because of your passion and commitment to agriculture. Together, we can build a stronger farming future.
This podcast is made possible by the Future Drought Fund Regional Drought Resilience Planning Program, co-funded by the Victorian and Australian governments.